So I'm going to go over some common misconceptions that people have about the game industry. Number one, I hear this all the time. Anyone can make a game. Just download Unity and do the tutorials, and that's it. Okay. The amount of times that you've had a person who comes up and says, look, I made a game, and they just do an FPS controller down and they show it to friends like, wonderful, I can move this guy around in 3D. That's not a game. All right. And we've seen that happen so many times where people think that graphics make a game, and you've seen those games which have beautiful graphics, but they end up in the bargain bin because it wasn't a game. It was just very pretty graphics and really no real game to it. All right. So just because you could download Unity and throw things together does not mean that you can make a game. Okay. There's a lot more to it. Okay. Next one, making video games is fun. I mean, you're a game developer. You must be having so much fun, right? I do have fun. Okay. And I do my best to keep on having fun and making this fun and remembering why I started. But making video games is not a fun task. Okay. Especially when you've been seeing your game over and over and over again, day in, day out. Pretty soon it becomes really boring. And if you've ever worked at a restaurant before, I used to work at Mickey D's back in the day when I was younger, right? Pretty soon you get really sick and tired of your own food. Okay, even though you're there, you're working it, you want to eat something else, you want to do something else. I make my video games, but I get bored of my own game. All right, and that is a big challenge, right? It is basically writer's block for game development. Okay, where we're just like, you know what, I don't want to see this game anymore. I'm done with it, right? It gets really frustrating. Making games becomes very boring over time, and it can become challenging with code bugs and code issues, with all the stuff that's involved. Your goal is to keep on trying to keep that fun going. And so one of the things that we like to do as game developers is play other games, right? Go for walks, go out and enjoy some time, play some board games. All right, go back to what makes things fun and find that spark again and bring it back into the game. Sometimes you just need to take a break from game development. All right. So it's generally advised to, go into a game jam or make a different game, right? So I generally have about 2 or 3 titles that are going at any given time, and they're very different games. So when I get bored of one, I'm like, okay, I'm coding for the other, and I'm able to kind of take those on. Or you join a game jam and you do that, right? So making video games is not always fun. Okay. So keep that in mind, but you want to bring the fun to it. Okay. Because we are making games at the end of the day. Next one, this one here, I hear all the time. Did you hear about so-and-so person who made a video game in a weekend and now they're a millionaire? The amount of times I've heard that one, oh my goodness. Okay, that is a lottery ticket mentality. Please do not come in the industry if that is what you're thinking, all right? Yes, it's a possibility, but it's like me saying, go and buy a lottery ticket, you'll be a millionaire, right? Very hard in today's day and world. It's the same thing, like go and make a website. You're gonna make millions, right? If you made a website today, it's not going to be ranked number 1 on Google. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. There are over 1,000 apps that come out daily in the app stores. Out of those 1,000, there are definitely going to be companies that have $1 million marketing budget. How are you competing? You know what I mean? Unless you got something completely different, it's very, very rare and very challenging to do that. And I don't want to set up, my students and everyone out here to not have success. I want you guys to be successful. And that is being realistic as well. Okay. You need to have things, and success leaves clues. Okay. And that is, you need to have certain things that are put inside of your game that will help you to achieve success. But more likely than not, when you launch your first game, it's probably going to be a flop. It's probably going to, be horrendously wrong. And that's fine. That is part of the learning. Okay. My very first game, I spent about $30,000 to $40,000 of my own money, and I put it on the market and it failed. Okay, it brought in about $500 and I was in tears. Okay, and I thought I was going to be making millions and all that. And this was back in 2011. So think about that, even at that time. Okay, when you could have done it, right? It still didn't do well. And that was a great experience for me. It was one of the best experiences because from that point onwards, I made it my mission to figure this industry out. All right, even more so. So imagine before that, I was already developing games, but I never launched anything. And many of you guys are probably in that situation where you're making games and you're getting all this experience, but you're so afraid to launch. Like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And I did that for many years before I launched. My first launch in 2011, though, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And I launched and completely failed. Okay. And I never gave up, though. I kept on going. And here I am 80 games later. I've got so much experience. I've launched many games. I've launched titles. Some have done good. Some have done bad. I've had millions of downloads worldwide. And, now I do this for a living and I help out other people as well. So, the point is, don't give up. There is success on the other end, but just like anything, it takes a lot of hard work. Okay. Next one, I hear this all the time. If I watch all the Brackeys YouTube video tutorials and all the stuff and I just copy, I'll be a game developer. It doesn't work that way. If you watch all the YouTube videos, you're not going to become a game developer like that. Okay. You need to apply the knowledge that you learn. Finally, this one here, it hurts me whenever I see this. If I join a college or university, I'll become part of the game industry. Just because you've joined a college or university and you're learning doesn't mean that, you're going to get into the game industry. Many times these colleges and universities, they're teaching this stuff, but that doesn't mean that you've actually joined in. You're going to have a better opportunity by going game jams. All right, so keep that in mind. So yeah, I've seen people who spent tens of thousands of dollars on college and university, and they come out and they're no further than they were before, other than they learned a few skills, right? And I had one guy, I remember, he spent $70,000 on a college in the States, and he was like, I'm not part of the industry. He didn't have a job afterwards, and it was painful to hear that. At the end of the day, the college made money, and it was sad. So just because you go to a college or university, it does not mean that you're going to be a part of the industry. Please make sure that you have a portfolio. Make sure that you're doing game jams. Release something. Try it out. Even if you fail, at least you tried and you got something to put in your resume. Okay, so it's a very important thing there.